Hello, this is ETM, which is End Times Media, and my name is Pastor Zeb Makamadi, and today I want to share with you how your words can change your destiny. Words are very powerful. Words are really, really very powerful. And so the Bible tells us in Proverbs 18:21 that death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. That is to say that what we say can be a blessing to us, and at the same time, what we say can also ruin our lives. You see, in James chapter 3, verse 8b says that the tongue is an unruly. It says that the tongue is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. You see, in that very passage, the Bible also says that the tongue, is that from it we bless people, and also from it we curse people who are created in the image and the likeness of God. It means we can choose to use our tongue for blessings. So we can make that choice, and that choice can be tremendous blessings for us. You know, sometimes people are thrust into problems, and those problems are caused by what they have said and what they say. See, now the Bible tells us in Mark chapter 4, verse 17, that there's a purpose for problems. You see, the purpose for problems is to make us stumble, to make us fall, to make us get into very bad situations. So the passage is saying, it says, and they have no root in themselves, and so endure only for a time. Afterward, when tribulation or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they stumble. You see, the purpose of problems is to make us stumble. You see, the devil uses problems to make us stumble, and it's really, really important that we minimize the problem that come our ways, particularly in this last days. In this last days that Jesus is coming back soon, it's really, really important for us to minimize the problem that come our way. And so we can minimize them by speaking correctly, speaking the right words, and sometimes the way we speak can be really very appalling. Let me give an example. When strangers visit you, or when people who are very important come to visit you, you see how we speak gracious words to them. We speak very good words, we speak very gracious words. We hardly say anything bad. But you see, at the same token, I want us to really see the way we treat people we call our loved ones. Sometimes the way we treat our wives. Sometimes the way we treat our husbands. Sometimes the way we speak to our husband, the way we speak to our wives, the way we speak to our children, the way we speak to people who live with us, or people who work with us, or people or our friends. Sometimes we speak to them very rudely, very badly. You see, imagine if we treated them with the same courtesy that we treat strangers when they come to visit us. When strangers come, let's say for instance, if the king or the prime minister or the president come to visit you, you find that your words will be totally and completely gracious. So why can't we treat our families in the same way? Why can't we treat our spouses in the same way? Why can't we do the same thing? Why can't we treat our children in the same way? You see, we treat them as queens, and we treat them as kings. You see, you find that, it will make our relationships very, very powerful. And also, the way we treat other people that come our way. You see, the way we speak to people, the way we interact with people is really very important. And I'm going to share with us something that happened. This was a long time ago. that is during after the time of Solomon. It's actually, this happened to the son of Solomon, King Rehoboam. After Solomon died, King Rehoboam was crowned the king of Judah. You see, and the people of Israel, they actually wanted Rehoboam to become their king because his father had been the king of the whole of Israel. So the 10 tribes, they sent a delegation, and one of those in that delegation was Jeroboam. So I just want to read to you what they said to the king, because during the time of Solomon, remember, Solomon was a great man, and he built the temple of God, and he built many, many houses. And you see, there was tremendous taxation upon the people. You see, and the people wanted a change. So they sent a delegation to King Rehoboam. I just want to read to you what the people said. They said to him, they said, "Your father made our yoke heavy. Now, therefore, lighten the burdensome service of your father and his heavy yoke, which he has put on us, and we will serve you." They said, do something about the taxation, about the heavy taxation that your father imposed upon us, and we will serve you. When they said this, King Rehoboam actually did something very wise. He said, "Depart and then come back in 3 days, and I'll give you a reply." You see, so when the people departed, I just want to read to us what Rehoboam did. He went to the elders, you see, the wise men, the old men who served his father. He went to them, he said, "What shall I tell these people?" And I just want to read verse 7. He says, from verse 6, he said, "King Rehoboam consulted the elders who stood before his father Solomon while he still lived, and he said, 'How do you advise me to answer these people?'" And I want us to listen to what the old men said to King Rehoboam. And they said to him, and they spoke to him, saying, "If you will be a servant to these people today, and serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, then they will be your servants forever." This was the advice of the old men and the wise men who served with King Solomon. You see, but he rejected the advice which the elders had given him, and consulted the young men who had grown up with him, who stood before him. So he went to the young men and said, "What shall I answer these people?" Just listen to what the young man said to him. And he said to them, "What advice do you give? How should we answer these people who had spoken to me, saying, 'Lighten the yoke which your father put on us'?" Then the young men who had grown up with him spoke to him, saying, "Thus you should speak to these people." He says, who have spoken to you, saying, "Your father made our yoke heavy, but you make it lighter for us." Thus you shall say to them, "My little finger shall be thicker than my father's waist. And now, whereas my father put a heavy yoke on you, I will add to your yoke. My father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scourges." So this was, the advice of the young men. And when the people came, Rehoboam said exactly to them. He said to them, "My father made your yoke heavy, but I will add to your yoke. And my father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scourges." You know what the people responded? They said to him, they said, "King Rehoboam, it's over. You can't be our king." So they said, "You can't be our king anymore." You see, King Rehoboam lost the 10 tribes because he spoke wrongly. it's really, really important we learn how to speak to people. You know, sometimes we speak the truth, but you see, the way we speak the truth kind of just ruins everything and creates enmity for us. It's important that we learn how to speak the truth. You know, King Rehoboam could have spoken good words to them. You know, speaking good words to people doesn't mean that you lie to them or you become a kind of sycophant, you know, it's a kind of sycophancy. That's not what it means. It means that you speak to them, in fact, what I call the real truth. Let me explain what I mean by the real truth. You know, sometimes when leaders are speaking to people who follow them, sometimes the way they speak to them can be very discouraging. They just tell them the whole truth. You see, but there's a difference between telling them the truth and telling them the real truth. You see, the real truth is telling them that, you know, first of all, you begin by telling them the good things about them, the good things they have done. You know, this is what happens when, you know, there's some pills we take. Those pills are coated with sweet stuff, some sweet sugary stuff. But you see, inside that pill is the very bitter stuff. You see, you find that because of the sugary stuff on top, we're able to swallow those pills. You see, the same thing goes with people, with human beings. You see, now to tell people, just tell them the truth. It's okay. But sometimes it's not totally okay. Because it's when you tell them the real truth, you see, you begin by telling them the good things they have done. And of course, you end by telling them the truth. That way, you see, they're able to accept the truth. Because, you see, you are telling them that you are not entirely bad. You're not entirely useless and bad. There's something good about you. But there is something I really want to correct. You see, when you tell them something good about them, they will understand that they are not totally useless. You see, they are not totally bad. That there's something good about them. And then you tell them what you want to correct. You see, they're able to accept your correction and they will love you for it. You see, but if you just tell them there's something I want to correct about you, and you just tell them, I want to correct this, I want to correct this and that and that and that. You see, in most cases, I've seen situations where people have told the truth, but they become enemies with those that told the truth. And sometimes this enmity is lasted for life, which is really very sad. But you see, you can also tell the same truth. You begin by telling people the good things they have done, the good things about them. And then you then bring the truth, the things you want to correct. And then you speak it. You don't have to tell a lie. You speak it. That way they understand that, yes, you know, there's something that this guy wants to correct. But at the same time, he acknowledges the fact that there is something good in me. You see, that way they're able to accept your truth because you are telling them that, yes, you need to correct something. But at the same time, you're also a good person, which is true. No human being is entirely bad. In fact, there is no human being that is 100% bad. Every one of us have some good parts about us. And it's important that people need to be reminded that there's something good about them. You see, when they are reminded this way, they're able to accept your correction. They're able to accept your truth. You see, so words can change your destiny. You see, we see in this situation that the destiny of Rehoboam was ruined because he didn't know how to tell people. He didn't know how to speak to people. He didn't know how to deal with people. He didn't know. He just came. In fact, you see, if you accepted the advice of the older people who worked with his father, you see, he would have had the entire 12 tribes with him. But he rejected their words. And you see, he followed the words of the young men who grew up with him. Of course, those young men, because they were so young, they lacked experience. They lacked wisdom. You see, because they lacked experience and wisdom, he followed their advice and spoke very harshly to those people. And of course, it cost him, the 12th tribe, the entire nation, the entirety, of the 12 tribes. So he ended up just one or two tribes. You see, so it's important. You see, words can change our lives. Words can change our destiny. And it's important that we learn how to speak to people, how to speak to anybody. In fact, how to speak to our wives, how to speak to our husbands, how to speak to our friends. You see, so that way, problems will be minimized in our lives. And things that create high blood pressure, problems, they will be minimized. You see, so you want to really encourage us to speak words to people in the correct and right way. Before I finish, I just want to remind you that I have other videos on YouTube, and to access these videos, please go to YouTube search and please insert Zeb Mark Amadi, and my videos will come up. Please do subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. God bless you.